Thanks for staying with News at Prime tonight. While Ukraine remains firm in its stance that the only way to end the war is for complete withdrawal on the part of Russia. These sentiments were echoed on Friday by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky during an AU peace mission. We're joined now by Ukrainian Ambassador to South Africa, Liubov Abravitova. Good evening, Ambassador, and thank you so much for your time tonight. Firstly, you've had the opportunity of seeing how Saturday unfolded in terms of the talks between this delegation with the Russian President Vladimir Putin and his response to it. Overall, how are you feeling about this effort?
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I need to make an amendment here. This is not the AU delegation. This is the delegation of equals of 7 high representatives, including presidents of different African countries, that had an initiative to come to both Ukraine and Russian Federation with the initiative to listen. That's exactly what we've heard in both Ukraine and what they were pronouncing in Russia. Just to make it very clear. Second, I guess that it's very clear that we have seen through both visits to our country and to Russian Federation that Russia showed exactly that it is not prepared for peaceful talks. When your esteemed president was in Ukraine, the largest missile attack was happening. I think it's not questionable anymore. And 12 ballistic rockets probably showed to the African leaders the attitude, but also sent certain message about Russia's not willingness to go for the peace talks, but also disrespect to actually your esteemed president. That's how not only us, but all the world is reading this. Important thing is to see how Russia's discussions was happening. And you can follow it on open media that the Russian president was not controlling himself. He was actually not able to listen to all the presidents to give his propaganda and narrative to not only to the leaders, but unfortunately to his own people, because this is what he struggles today. He has to justify this war of aggression, this invasion, and there are no sources and resources anymore to do so. So this visit was very meaningful, though it had a lot of people who were underestimating it. It showed that Russia lives in parallel reality, and it showed that the president is not controlling, the president of Russian Federation is not controlling himself.
Look, the reality, Ambassador Liubov, is that you're dealing with a situation here where both Russia and Ukraine right now are looking for very different things as the starting point in terms of any effort that is likely to lead to peace at this point. Do you think that this visit is going to make any headway in helping both countries get at least a step closer to each other, regardless of how long the road ahead might be?
Definitely, what will happen is that Ukraine and these African countries will be closer together. That's important. Russia and Ukraine will probably forever become and stay the neighbors. But the crimes that Russia committed against Ukraine will never be forgotten. The mission, as your president announced, was to talk and to listen. It was not to bring us to the peace, because finally everyone is realizing how difficult it is, isn't it? Ukrainian peace formula is clear. We were able not only to speak again about this peace formula, but to explain why it is the only formula that Ukraine can follow. Because we want to live, we want to exist, we want freedom. The same freedom that you wanted and that to which your president was referring to.
So in the long run then, Ambassador Liubov, as far as you're concerned, in terms of at least some persuasion regarding what needs to be on the table before any formal peace talks, because these really are peace talks about peace talks. So before any formal peace talks can take place, you are saying that this effort has not done anything to persuade you to shift your position.
We don't need to be persuaded. No one wants peace more than Ukrainians. But your own president were able to see when he is coming to discuss peaceful solutions, he is bombed and shelled.
Which is something that the president's own spokesperson has denied, by the way.
Which is, by the way, was finally confirmed by the president himself. So I think this situation is already cannot be discussed. President confirmed that there was a shelling, and I think that maybe the spokesperson was sitting very deep in the shelter that he couldn't hear.
So is there anything
that was happening?
Is there anything that gives you hope, Ambassador Liubov, about these discussions?
Yes,
what gives you hope?
Of course. What gives us hope is that the delegation did recognize that Russians live in parallel reality, that they don't want peace, that they violated the UN Charter.
I don't think that the delegation recognizes that Russia doesn't want peace, but they have affirmed Ukraine's sovereignty under the UN Charter, which is significant, which is very significant.
And territorial integrity. And all of them were talking about the respect to UN Charter, which is, I believe, a great achievement. All delegations were talking about Ukrainian territorial integrity. So we achieved that result for ourselves, but did we achieve the result for Putin to stop waging his war against Ukraine? I think this was the mission impossible.
The de-escalation was called for both sides, by the way, and the statement is quite neutral in that regard. It calls for de-escalation from both sides.
My dear friends, but when we are speaking about de-escalation on both sides, do we realize that the war is happening on the territory of Ukraine and that Russians are coming to our territory and killing our civilians? So, if Russia stops war, the war is over. If Ukraine stops war, Ukraine is over. If we stop protecting ourselves, what will be there?
Let me end it off with this question, Ambassador Liubov. When you look at where things have ended, in as far as this peace mission is concerned, right? Are you confident that going forward there has been some credibility restored to South Africa's position when it says it is non-aligned? As Ukraine, do you believe that?
As Ukraine, we believe that there must be respect to the United Nations Charter. There must be respect to the territorial integrity and sovereignty of every country. We did here, it was pronounced. I think that my president, during the conference that they had after the multilateral meeting, clearly expressed his misunderstanding of how, after what's been seen and what kind of attack was happening on your leaders, how further you can go and shake hands with these people. Because the message is there, as I told you in the very beginning.
Right.
I think that a lot of things have to be happening now, because the mission, as declared, has its goals. So let's hope that it will be not just one act mission, that it will have its follow-up, that the discussions will be happening and the dialogue will be continuing.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there for tonight. So it's still very much an ongoing journey, as you heard there from Ukrainian Ambassador to South Africa, Liubov Abravitova.